Donald Trump just made a giant misstep at a softball interview with Sean Hannity, part 2 of a so-called town hall that was held in Pennsylvania, and it was held with Sean Hannity of Fox. Watch Donald Trump's response. He's asked a very basic question, and Donald Trump says that if you didn't vote for him in the primary as a Republican or whoever, he does not want your vote. Do not vote for him, he says. He's just not built like that. He doesn't want you to vote for him. Here, play this clip.
They said, one person who didn't support me, he said, I must admit I had the most successful 4 years of my life, but I'm going to vote for some. I said, and now that person came back to me. I don't want that person. I don't want that person. You know, they say you should take everybody, but that's not the way I'm built. It's one of those little problems. This person, no, this was in the Republican primary, said, I had the best 4 years I've ever had under Trump, but I'm going to support this one. I said, that's the end of that, you know, when they came back.
You know, it's really a stunning admission there, because we've been covering here at the MeidasTouch Network, unlike really corporate media, which has downplayed this. Donald Trump has underperformed the polling averages in mostly every state by somewhere between 5 and in some cases 15 and 20 points, as Republicans have voted for Nikki Haley or even Ron DeSantis or wrote in other names, where Donald Trump was really the only person on the ballot. This includes closed Republican primaries. I mean, to me, one of the major states where this is in play, and it's just always shocking to me that this gets no attention, was in Michigan. Tom Bonnier, who's one of the best pollsters out there, explained that Trump's 42-point margin in the Michigan primary, get this, it fell 15 points short of the final 538 poll average, and he continued to underperform like that in most states during the primary. 15-point underperformance to the 538 average in Michigan. And where were those votes going? To Nikki Haley. And so one of the things we've been featuring here on the MeidasTouch Network are these voices of former Trump voters, Republicans who will never vote Trump, principled, classic Republicans, as I like to call them, who are saying, we ain't voting for Donald Trump. Did you see this video that Republican voters against Trump put out? I think they're running like an $11 million campaign with ads like this. Here, let me show it to you. It's pretty good stuff. Play the clip.
I'm a two-time Trump voter.
In 2024, I cannot support Donald Trump.
Trump is 100%
responsible for January 6th.
His treatment of women is just disgusting.
Trump called servicemen suckers and losers.
If Trump has a second term,
it will be much worse than the first.
Kamala Harris is the prosecutor.
He's a convicted felon.
In 2024,
I will be
proudly voting for Kamala Harris.
Republican Accountability PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
And have you seen this ad that Liz Cheney just put out? Again, Liz Cheney endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris this week, and then this ad got released. Here, watch this.
Donald Trump represents a very grave and direct threat to the foundations of the Republic. I think people have to not forget what Donald Trump did during the 187 minutes, during the attack on the Capitol. Donald Trump had mobilized this mob, and then he gets back to the White House, and he watched people assault our Capitol in his name as members of his family, pleaded with him, tell the mob to stop, and he wouldn't do it. The pure depravity of an individual watching this violent assault, and he refuses to tell the mob to leave. That's a man who can never again be entrusted with power of any kind. And because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris. We can't elect people who will only certify elections that they win. We are free because people have fought and died for our freedom, and we do not have the luxury to be bystanders. The way that we stamp out violence in our politics is by electing people who know that the peaceful transfer of power has to be defended. It is the most important thing that you can do when you're making sure that the generations that come after us also get to live in a country where they don't have to worry that we're going to have violence that determines who leads this nation.
I love when Republican voters against Trump does this as well. You know, as they count down the days of the election, they also show in each of the days as they count down, like one of the characteristics of Donald Trump that's absolutely disqualifying. So here's one of the ones they recently did with Trump, saying that no one knows anything better than him. Here, play this clip.
I understand things. I comprehend very well. Okay? Better than, I think, almost anybody.
I know more about taxes than any human being that God ever created.
Nobody knows more about campaign finance than I do.
I understand money better than anybody.
Nobody knows more about debt than I do.
Nobody knows the banking industry better than me.
I know more about courts than any human being on earth. Who knows more about lawsuits than I do? I'm the king. I know more about renewables than any human being on earth.
And I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than anybody.
Nobody knows more about environmental impact statements than me. The nuclear program, and I understand it maybe better than anybody. My uncle was at MIT.
I know more about drones than anybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's just ridiculous statements right there. By the way, here's a new ad running in swing states by Republican voters against Trump. This is Tom, a former Trump voter from Florida. It's a great ad. And it's just former Trump voters and Republicans just speaking their mind. Play this clip.
I'm actually embarrassed to say that I did vote for Trump in 2016. I don't think the man can be trusted. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. He's a very dishonest person. I hate the way he disrespects women, the way he disrespects other people that have worked for him. He's a narcissist. I just don't see myself ever voting for Donald Trump. This is not my Republican Party any longer. I have to go with Kamala Harris.
Republican Accountability PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
You take a look at Florida as well, that 20% Nikki Haley vote that we've seen in the primaries, it was there in Florida as well. Ron Filipkowski pointed out in the Florida primary, 20% of Republican voters in Florida voted for either Haley, DeSantis, or Chris Christie after they all dropped out, which is a very bad sign for Trump, but somehow that hasn't been talked about by really corporate media, although Fox was raising the red flag back then and saying Trump has a big Nikki Haley voter problem. Here, watch this.
Nikki Haley won 2.9 million votes in the primaries so far. If those, and our Fox News voter analysis shows that somewhere between 5 and 10 and 6 and 10 of those Nikki Haley voters say they won't vote for Trump in November. If even a fraction of those voters deliver on that promise and stay home or vote third party or just split their votes or something, Trump loses.
Here's a segment that aired very recently. This is Greg Bauer, former Republican state senator who served as U.S. Attorney for Nevada under George W. Bush, on why he's voting Vice President Kamala Harris. Play this clip.
Greg Bauer was a lifelong Republican, Navy veteran, former Nevada state senator, who served as this state's United States Attorney under President George W. Bush. He even worked as Deputy General Counsel for the FBI. But in 2018, during Trump's presidency, he tells me he'd had enough and re-registered nonpartisan.
I think it's really just kind of a sense of right and wrong and ethics and decency.
Bauer was at the FBI when Trump fired former Director James Comey and saw Republicans criticize the nation's top law enforcement agency. That continued, Bauer says, with the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, where many Capitol police officers were injured and some later died.
We certainly have seen recently a lack of respect for law enforcement and the FBI in particular in a meaningful way that I think really does separate the two tickets today.
Like other Republicans voting for Harris, Bauer says he hasn't changed his GOP philosophy. He still believes in low taxes, strong national defense, and American leadership in NATO. But those debates take a backseat to something he says is even more essential.
My real motivation and decision making is based upon putting country over party and frankly putting patriotism over specific policies. You know, we can have policy debates, but we need to preserve our democracy in a meaningful way if we're going to have those debates.
Here is John from Alabama, former Trump voter, sending his message to Donald Trump. Play this clip.
I'm a Republican and I voted for you in 2016. I was wrong to vote for you the last time, but I gave you a chance and you failed miserably. My name is John and I live in Wetumpka, Alabama. Back in 2016, I did vote for Donald Trump. And I knew it wouldn't be long before he'd cut his own throat. The skeletons would come out of the closet. And he's been so dishonest, and he's been so disrespectful. He's like a little child that doesn't get his way. He's a tyrant, a fascist, and a demagogue. He throws temper tantrums whenever he wants to. I'm from a military family. And for you to call our military prisoners and heroes and current, past, and others losers and suckers, you said, of the military. And I can't believe why our military didn't jump your butt then. You have set a record for the most White House and other agency personal firings, mostly good and smart people. I'm a Republican and I voted for you in 2016. I was wrong to vote for you the last time, but I gave you a chance and you failed miserably. So this Republican, ex-Republican, like many others, crossed the party line and voted for the other guy in 2020. If the other guy would have been a damn pig, I would have voted for the pig.
Here's Chris, a former Trump voter, sending his message to Donald Trump. Play this clip.
Hello, my name is Chris. I'm a retired soldier. I voted for Donald Trump in 2016. At the end of the day, once the election is over, I'm going to have to look at myself in the mirror and know that I did the right thing. There's just no way that I can support a man like Donald Trump, who mocked, disrespected, and denigrated every serviceman that has ever served this nation by calling them a sucker and a loser. I refuse to be a part of that.
And let me show you these two final clips right here. So to the extent you have a MAGA friend or whoever, you know, who uses these talking points about whatever, the cause of inflation. Let me show you this. Here's what Nikki Haley said during the debate was the cause of inflation. Donald Trump adding $8 trillion to the debt. Play the clip.
I don't care about polls. What I care about the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt. And Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
And here's Ron DeSantis saying it as well. Play the clip.
And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He owes it to you to defend his record where they added $7.8 trillion to the debt. That set the stage for the inflation that we have.
So listen to Donald Trump if you didn't vote for him in the primaries. He says he doesn't want your vote. Don't vote for him at all. And vote for democracy. Vote for democracy at the end of the day. Look in the mirror and just ask yourself, what's going to help you in your... That's all I want you to ask yourself more than anything. Democracy. Freedoms. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million together. Thanks for watching.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.